For 3 years, we've been told the same story about AI inequality. That the gap is about skills, about who can use AI, about literacy. That story is wrong, and the data that proves it is hiding in plain sight. 86% of the world's most powerful computers sit in high-income countries. Those computers hold 97% of the total compute power on Earth. That's not a forecast. That's right now. So when governments spend millions on AI literacy programs, while 5 companies commit $320 billion to data centers in a single year, something doesn't add up. Here's what nobody's saying out loud. Teaching people to use AI better is like teaching peasants to read better in 1850. Useful, maybe even important, but it doesn't change who owns the factory. And the factory, the real one, made of concrete and copper and uranium, is being built right now in specific places by specific people at a speed the public cannot match. Stay with me, because once you see this, you can't unsee it. Here's the reframe. AI isn't software. We keep treating it like software. Something you download, something you learn, something anyone can copy. That mental model is the trap. Strip away the hype and AI power stacks into 5 physical layers. The grid that powers it, the chips that run it, the inference services that serve it, the data that trains it, and the rules that govern all of it. Concentration in the first 3 layers is already severe and self-reinforcing. So the question isn't who can think with AI. The question is, who owns the grid, the chips, the stack, the data, and the rules? And can any of that still be redistributed in time? Over the next 6 episodes, we're going to take each layer apart. By the end, you'll understand why most of the world's solutions to AI inequality are treating the symptom, not the disease. And you'll see something that changes the stakes completely. Imagine analyzing industrial inequality in 1890 and concluding the main problem was that workers didn't understand machines well enough. You'd be technically correct, and completely useless. Because the actual problem was ownership. Who owned the factories? Who owned the patents? Who owned the capital? Worker skill mattered, but it was downstream of that. AI literacy is the same kind of answer. It's politically safe because it points away from ownership. No one has to give up a chip allocation, a grid connection, or a data center site to fund a curriculum. That's exactly why governments love it. But the fix for industrial inequality wasn't evening classes. It was antitrust, labor law, public infrastructure, and capital redistribution. The fix for AI inequality will look more like that than like a training module. There's a second problem with the literacy frame. It collapses the difference between a person using AI and an institution running on AI. A student using ChatGPT is one thing. A Ministry of Health running its diagnostic triage on an AI service is a completely different thing. That ministry needs uptime, latency guarantees, safety tuning, data governance, version control, failover infrastructure. Almost no institution outside a narrow band of sophisticated tech companies has those capacities, which means, regardless of how democratized the underlying models become, most real-world AI deployment runs on a handful of hyperscaler APIs. Open weights, closed deployment, remember that phrase. It's the single most important thing happening at the application layer right now, and we'll come back to it in episode 4. Here's something that sounds technical, but is actually about your wallet. When a hyperscaler builds its own power plant next to its own data center, what's called Bring Your Own Power, or BYOP, it stops contributing to the shared cost of maintaining the public grid. Those costs don't vanish. They get redistributed onto residential ratepayers, onto small businesses, onto you. The physical concentration of AI is quietly becoming a fiscal concentration. The rest of us are subsidizing an infrastructure we don't own for a service we rent. And this is happening without a public debate, because nobody's framing it this way. If you work in healthcare, law, finance, education, government, anywhere that's starting to integrate AI into decisions, here's the uncomfortable truth. The model your institution uses will be chosen by someone else, trained by someone else, tuned, if at all, by someone else, and audited, if at all, by someone else. You'll be asked to supervise its outputs, but you won't be able to inspect its reasoning from first principles, because you can't. Because nobody outside a handful of companies can. That's not a literacy problem. That's an ownership problem wearing a literacy costume. So when you connect it all, one thing becomes clear. The real AI inequality isn't between people who can prompt well and people who can't. It's between the small number of places on Earth that physically host the infrastructure and everyone else. The leverage to change this doesn't live in classrooms. It lives where the capital, the concrete, and the kilowatts are allocated. Here's what to watch. If you want to know which way this is going, watch the Bring Your Own Power deals. Every time a hyperscaler signs a direct energy contract with a utility or an oil company, the public grid loses another seat at the table. If those deals keep accelerating, the base case we'll explore in Episode 5. The window to redistribute closes. Here's the sting. Every country now running AI literacy programs is training its citizens to be better users of a system someone else owns. If that's all we do, we're not closing the gap. We're rehearsing our dependency. The question isn't whether AI will change the world. It's whether the world that's being changed looks anything like the one the people living in it would choose. Which of those 5 physical layers, energy, chips, inference, data, governance, do you think is the most fixable? Drop your answer in the comments. I read everyone. Next episode, we go inside the single deal that explains where this is all heading. The day Chevron agreed to build a power plant for Microsoft, and what it means for everyone else.